this is one of the biggest questions I get in this group, in this community of 30,000 automotive professionals, including a lot of Ford people. If you've got let's just use Ford dealership. If you've got a Ford dealership, you guys want them, is it you or is it the OEM that wants them to use certain tools like compliant tools or OEM sanctioned stuff like websites? Is that coming from FordDirect or is that coming from Ford OEM?
Let me ask you a question. Did you come here to listen to money or make it? This is L.A. Williams, the blind master. And Sean V. Bradley and I came here for one reason and one reason only. And that's to fill your pockets with money. Now how are we gonna do it? By giving you the secrets, techniques, and strategies for you to stop losing and start winning at this game called automotive professional sales.
Hey everybody, this is Sean V. Bradley, the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, the community, everything, and the president of Dealer Synergy. And I'm really excited because I've got a special guest today from FordDirect, my man, Trent Cannon. What's up, brother? How you doing today?
Great, my man. How are you, Mr. Bradley?
Man, I got to tell you, I am doing phenomenal. I'm short and stocky and built like Rocky. You know what I mean?
My man. Hey, I got to turn just real quick. I'm going to turn my camera just a little bit. Because right there, that picture over there.
Yes, sir.
1952 Eagles. I know you are an Eagles fan.
Yes.
That's my Eagle right there.
All
okay.
Right.
And Mike, the mic's in the way. There's my Eagle right there. And right above me, that is my grandfather, the very first black player to play for the 52 Eagles with Chuck Bednarik and Norm Van Brocklin in 1952, sir. So I thought you'd enjoy a little history when we started off, baby.
Wow, that is absolutely phenomenal. Much respect, brother. That's what's up, man. That's what's up.
Thank you, my brother.
I had no idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get into this. The first thing I want to get into, Trent, is there's a little confusing detail here between, like, that I want you to clarify for the regular, especially non-Ford dealers. What's the difference between Ford OEM and FordDirect?
Thank you for the question, because it is often misunderstood. FordDirect, we are partially owned by Ford, the OEM, and partially owned by actual Ford dealers. So we are very pro-dealer. We do everything with the dealer interests in mind. So we're like a quasi in-between agency, in between Ford and Ford dealers that was started in 2005. And they started really to get things because you had digital coming about and you had websites and so forth. And they started to align those things to get, some synergy between all of the different things that were coming. And now we have grown into, we're in fixed ops, we're in, I am future products. So I bring in new products, everything from scanning cars to the back end, like the office back end of the store. So we're in every facet of the store. We're known for the CRM, which we run, but we do a lot more than that. And even sometimes communicate with other OEMs to help, build consensus across the board. So thank you for the question.
No, absolutely. Again, because sometimes, people just assume it's just one thing. But if I'm understanding correctly, FordDirect is a separate company than Ford manufacturer, Ford OEM. FordDirect is owned partially by Ford OEM, but it's also owned partially by the dealers. Is that correct?
That is accurate, sir. Yes.
Okay. Is it an equal split, or are you allowed to say, or what would you say?
I don't know. I don't know the exact breakdown. That's a great question. I need to go ask somebody in finance. What's the breakdown?
No, the reason why I asked that question is because the rules of engagement. If a part of a company is owned 51%, then majority share, then pretty much that's the shot caller. So I'm just curious: is it an equal partnership, or are the dealers the main shot caller, or is the OEM the shot caller? Does that make sense? That's the question.
That Sean. Great question. I don't know what the breakdown is. But I can tell you just from my standpoint.
Yeah,
we take direction from Ford.
Right.
We stay in lockstep of what Ford wants to do. We don't go outside of what Ford, we don't go out on our own and say, okay, Ford, you're going to do this, we're going to do that. Yeah, you know what I mean? I know you want to run the ball, but we want to pass. Like we don't do that. But we have a dealer advisory board. We talk to people. I talk to people like you that are knowledgeable in the industry about. And I'll call you and say, "Hey, Sean, what's going on? What's the deal?" Because you're in store and you're at the ground level, and you really know dealers, and you know what's gonna. You can look out 12 to 18 months all the time and say, "Hey, you need to be looking out for this." And so, even if on paper it's not an equal partnership, it feels like an equal partnership.
That's what's up.
I'll put it that way.
Okay, and for non-Ford dealers, because I don't really think that the other manufacturers have an entity quite like you guys have at FordDirect. I think that's a competitive advantage, obviously. But how does a Ford dealer maximize their relationship with FordDirect?
How does that, man, you ask good questions today. And I love how it's unscripted. That's one of the reasons why I'm on your podcast, because you'll hit somebody with something like, man, I got to think about that. How do we how does a dealer maximize a relationship? Talk to us. We'll talk to any dealer, big or small. We almost prefer the smaller ones over the big ones, because the big ones get a lot of press, and we're in there anyways. We're in there all the time.
When you say talk to you, is it the dealer principal you're having the dialogue with only in the GM, or are you talking to sales managers, desk managers, or are you even getting granular to the sales team or the BDC reps? Who is FordDirect's audience at the dealership level?
Sean, me personally, I'll talk to the porter. I don't care what level you're at within the dealership. If you have something valuable to add or something.
All right, redirect. Here's a redirect question. Your Ford dealer base, right?
Right.
Who are the ones that, and before you answer this, I want to acknowledge what I heard you say. You said that you'll talk to anybody. I respect that, and I think that's an awesome thing.
Yeah, no.
But realistically, who is the one at the dealership that has the most dialogue with you? Is it realistically the frontline sales and BDC team, or is it the intermediate management, or is it the executive management or ownership at the dealership that has the most interaction or dialogue?
And to answer the question forthright, because we have a what's called a DPC team, dealer performance consultant team, 92 people across the nation. They are typically talking to the dealer principal and the general manager. But they also have very heavy interaction with the internet director and BDC management in the store, the points of communication. Different stores, as you well know, have different setups. But now talking to the service director is common. Parts director, bringing them all in, because as you well know, everything is online. There is no part of the store that doesn't touch the digital piece and isn't important anymore. So really, everybody is part of the conversation. But you're correct. Usually, it's going to be the general manager and the dealer principal. That's going to be the main audience.
Is it safe to say, because there's thousands, over 3,000 Ford dealerships, or approximately 3,000 Ford dealerships across the country? Is that about right?
Last number I saw was 2,997, but I could be off.
I was rounding up, brother, but details. But yes, basically 3,000 stores approximately. Just a touch under, right? So can you just, and again, and this is just speculation, I'm just curious, what would you say is the percentage of the FordDirect dealer base that maximizes the FordDirect relationship? Before you answer, let me explain.
Okay.
I've been this for 25 years, and I find that a lot of dealers in every manufacturer, scenario, they don't maximize their tools. They don't maximize the DMS. They don't maximize the CRM. They don't maximize the data mining, equity mining tool. And I could just assume, that dealers don't max. But I'm curious. Like out of 3,000 stores, that's an incredible range to be able to quantify this stuff. Would you say that 20% of the dealerships, 50%, 70%, 80%, 90%, or 100% of the dealer base actually maximizes all the resources, all the benefits, all of the the knowledge, etc.? What would you say percentage wise?
Man, I'd probably say between 25 to 35% really maximize everything that FordDirect has to offer. I'd say 75% of stores have some interaction with FordDirect, albeit. So it's not 100%, but we also, the incentive fee comes from us. There's a thing called VinReel. That's the pictures that a lot of you have. And a lot of people don't even know that's coming from FordDirect. FordDirect is putting all together. So a lot of the integrations that happen with the push-pull, and there's some companies that you don't even know that we're involved with, like Team Velocity and dealer teamwork, C4 to just to name a few on the digital ad space that we're interacting with on a daily basis. Dealer Inspire, a lot of the websites and so forth that we we help, and we help make better. And you don't even know that we're involved sometimes, but that's us.
No, I appreciate your answer on that, because I think that it's a realistic number. So let's speak to, because I have actually a lot of Ford dealers that I've worked with over the years, and we have currently active. And I just got off the phone with a small Ford dealership right before this podcast, Seneca Ford, right outside of Erie, Pennsylvania. The dealer principal, Mike Lee, and let's give you the scenario. This is a buy-sell, brand new dealership. They're doing less than 30 units a month. It's a brand new store. This is his second dealership. He's got a Kia dealership out of state, and so we're working with them. And this is their first experience with Ford. So they're just starting out the relationship. So let's say we're talking to him, or we're talking to other Ford dealers out there. Because if there's 30, 40, 50, 60, 80% of dealers that are not maximizing, let's talk to them. What should they be doing? So I'm going to ask you a direct question on behalf of all these dealers, right? So if I'm saying, hey, listen, I'm new to the Ford umbrella, and I heard that, the FordDirect is this amazing company, have all these resources. I don't know what I don't know. So tell me, how should I maximize? I want to not be one of the 25%, 35%, 40%, 50%. I want to be one of the rare unicorns that are maximizing 90, 95, 100% of the value. So where should I start? Where's my biggest bang for my time and energy with FordDirect? What should I get involved in immediately?
Man, you asking fire questions. Man, that's like Jalen Hurts over the middle of the day. Fire questions.
Thank you.
Very first thing I would tell that dealer, Mr. Lee, to do is get with his digital performance consultant, whoever that may be, and talk with them, because they're very prescriptive of, they can tell you reports on down the history of the store, going back the last 10 years of what has transpired, what has worked, and what hasn't worked. Because I think, Sean, we both know those are two important things. Let's not go down the same road that was traveled before, that didn't get us to the promised land. So the very first thing I would do is interact with that. We also have, it's in development right now. I don't want to get too far ahead of things.
Right.
It's our FordDirect marketplace. It's being rebranded, called The Shop. I think there's going to be an announcement at NADA, but I don't want to say too much. But that is out there. It's run by a good friend of mine inside the corporation. Her name's Courtney Douglas.
Okay.
She's bringing together a multitude of other companies that are not, there's who FordDirect already works with directly, and then there's other companies that we recommend and be more prescriptive about things. So those are two things I keep my eye on. But the first thing is talk to your DPC. They are friendly. They will tell you everything, and they're not salespeople. They are product agnostic. They will tell you everything left and right, and work with somebody like you. Like we love people like you that know, because it's one thing to say things, Sean, you say things and oh yeah, use this, and then they use it, but then they don't know how to use it because maybe the vendor doesn't follow up or what have you. So having someone like your team in the store to keep us honest is also very important.
No, I appreciate that. I've worked with some incredible Ford dealers around the country. Like the one that's one of the biggest successes, is the Bob Ruth Ford, also in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I mean, Trent, to be able to go into a store that's been, second generation dealer principal, Rob Ruth, incredible guy. Him and his family built this thing where they were doing 235 units approximately a month, 75 units a month on the internet, but population only 2,500 in Dillsburg, Pennsylvania. And within, 90 days, doubled the internet from 75 to 150 within the first year to 225, with less than 2 years to go from 75 cars to 320 units. Now, what we're doing, and I want to share this with you, is we're taking it to a whole nother level right now with HR. Because one of the problems that we're finding is that there's always been an attrition nightmare in our industry, unfortunately. But now it's compounded because of the post-pandemic reality where there's always been attrition, but now there's less candidates, less viable employees, because there's, in my opinion, so many people want to be freaking TikTok stars or Uber Eats drivers as they get their side hustle going. HR is a little difficult. So what we've been doing, and I got this from NAMAD, is we have a team of employees. They're called W8 contractors, which is like an international 1099. Brother, listen to this. These are not outsourced BDC. Okay. Bob Ruth Ford has a team of 6 Filipino employees that live in the Philippines, okay? They're employees, they're W-8 contractors, okay? They don't have to pay taxes on them at all. There's no overtime, there's no holidays, nothing. And again, in the state of Pennsylvania, they only have to pay them minimum wage. Now, these are college graduates. Some of them are trilingual. They're in the Philippines. They speak English fluently and they speak Spanish fluently as well. These are not the ghetto call center people from American Express. These are high level. Guess how many units that these 6 people from the Philippines were responsible for last month? 200 internet deals. The month before that, 225.
Wow.
Facts. You know what I mean? So yes, in Pennsylvania, they have 6 BDC reps in and do the math at $7.25 an hour. That's it.
That's maximizing profit and globalization at another level.
Yes, sir. So
we're gonna have to talk about that after.
No doubt.
That's some numbers. That's the numbers.
For sure.
Yeah, you got to agree with me on this one, right? That the phone is one of the absolute most important tools in the dealership, but it is also one of the most misused. Think about this: phone calls, text messages, etc. All of this is done through the phone. Dealers need to inspect what they expect. It's one thing to provide phone training for one of your employees or all of your employees, but just because you provide training doesn't mean that they've actually listened, learned, comprehended, and are utilizing information. So it is imperative to inspect what you expect. And one of the best ways to do that is using call reviews, phone technology. So it's call monitoring, call analytics. It is amazing to be able to track and inspect what you expect. Now think about this. If you're recording all of the phone calls, you're able to have quality assurance, you're able to have a peace of mind legally, but most importantly, you're able to evaluate your team and identify on the quantitative and qualitative measures of the phone call what needs to be improved. That way, your internal sales management team or your training team can work specifically and strategically with each one of your reps, whether they're BDC, sales, or management, to get them to that next level, to become that phone superstar. Okay, so again, if you want help with your phone skills, look at Call Review. And Call Review is going to be at the upcoming IS20G 15, April 15th to 17th in Baltimore.
So I want to redirect and I want to ask you a question. It's something that's been concerning me for a while. And I think that you're the perfect person to ask, not just because you have a relationship with Ford manufacturer, your partner with Ford manufacturer, but because of your core competency at FordDirect. As you said, your inception was in part to help dealers understand and maximize this digital phenomenon that was blowing up. All right. So this is one of the biggest questions I get in this group, in this community of 30,000 automotive professionals, including a lot of Ford people, is that, there's sometimes stress from the OEM with compliances or for co-op or for whatever what the manufacturer wants.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to get your opinion from FordDirect. And again, I know the difference between Ford OEM and FordDirect, but from FordDirect's opinion, if you've got let's just use Ford dealership. If you've got a Ford dealership, you guys want them, is it you or is it the OEM that wants them to use certain tools like compliant tools or OEM sanctioned stuff like websites? Is that coming from FordDirect or is that coming from Ford OEM?
I'd say that's coming from both.
Fair enough. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So let's what people want to know is this question, and I think I know the answer, but I want to hear it from the source. Is why? And again, I know that you're not the ambassador for all the manufacturers. So again, I'm just going to ask a global question, but you could answer it based on FordDirect.
Okay.
Why does the manufacturer get involved and tell dealers that they need to use one of these CRMs or one of these websites or one of these vendors? And then it's a two-part question. Why do you do it? And then they basically say, if you do it, if you don't do it, there's either consequences or there's rewards. Meaning, if you don't use the selected vendor, you might not get co-op money, or you might not get this, or you might not get that. Or if you do use what we say, you're going to get this, you're going to get that. So two-part question: why do they do it? And then why do they force, participation by rewards or consequences?
Excellent question. I'm going to answer it not as a FordDirect employee, but I'm going to answer it just globally.
Okay.
I am going to answer it like a global, because I've got previous experience with Nissan. I was on the Nissan team in the past. I was the director of marketing myself at the retail level, so I can explain. With multiple with Chevy, Stellantis. I've had probably 15 different makes, brands. In my career. So, and it's really always the same thing. The OEM wants for lack of a better word, a cookie cutter approach to websites. One, they want the data back so they can more effectively target the audience. That's probably the biggest thing, right? So they have all the data. They know, hey, this is our customer profile. This is our customer journey, which I know is a big buzzword right now. This is our customer journey. This is how we most effectively, so we don't spend too much money. This is how we most effectively market to that consumer. So that's probably the biggest thing. The other is, and it's for a very good reason, because I know that, having worked with CDK in the past, Chevy, I know the big uproar about the Chevy sites. I'm going to say this. If I'm on my phone and I'm searching a website and I can't figure out how to find your 2500 4x4 with the proper engine that I want, right? If I'm having trouble with it, your consumer is definitely having trouble with it. And I see that all the time because the websites are set up too differently sometimes. And I know we think in our minds. I've had to talk to a very large Texas dealer group just about this. We think in our minds, I want something custom. I don't want the same thing the other guy does. But when you walk into McDonald's, if the menus were all different, right? Every time you walk into McDonald's, like, where are the Big Macs? You know what I mean? It would be a problem. And so, people are shopping your site. They go to your dealer and then they go to the dealer maybe next door or down or even in a different state. But the experience needs to be about the same. It's easier for the consumer. And a lot of times it's better. And a lot of people they don't always agree on this. It is better for the people who are on the OEM websites. They also are going to get all the data feeds, that come through. Okay. The enforcement side of it is just back to the very first point I made. The OEM wants the data. They want to know what's going on so that they can more effectively target their consumer down the road. So I know it's a pain point for a lot of us, but there is some good methodology behind it,
No,
and a lot of dealer groups have embraced it now.
at the end of the day, again, just my opinion, respectfully, is that
Yeah.
that makes sense from the OEM's perspective, because at the end of the day, I know that these are businesses, but they're not sole proprietorships. These are franchises. So at
Yes.
the end of the day, everything that happens from any OEM has to benefit the OEM first. And again, I could understand, dealers being frustrated, because to them, they're owning businesses that are worth tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and some of these dealer groups, billions of dollars. And when you have a business that's worth that much money, it kind of feels like it's your business if you own 100% of it technically, but it's really not. Even if you own 100% of a dealer group, it's still just a franchise. And again, that's what dealers need to understand. The strategy is there to help the franchise, but it's there first to help and serve the benefit of the manufacturer. Because if there is no manufacturer, there are no franchises. So I understand that, but sometimes dealers forget that.
If there's no standards too, right? If you could walk into, and I'm just going to use a Chevy store.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of old Chevy stores. If you could walk into an old Chevy and it's all run down, I'm going to take a perfect example. I got a BMW store that was in Harlingen. I ain't going to say the name, but it was in Harlingen, Texas. And this place was an absolute dump. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad. It was one of the worst dealers. This is a couple of years ago. It was one of the worst dealerships I've been to. I was shocked that I was in a BMW store. I was like, how could BMW be keeping this into standard? This is not a standardized BMW store. Now they sold, and the new owner that has taken over has done a beautiful remodel the store. It's beautiful. It is up to BMW standards, but that devalues the brand, right? If the guy next door or the guy on the other side of town is not keeping his store up, right, and keeping it both digitally and online and physically up, people have a different perception of the value of the brand, right? And so that's why that you have these franchises that, these updated models, they update the models, they need to look nice. You need to have, like Mazda. Mazda's a great example. Redesign the stores.
The retail revolution stores, absolutely.
Yeah, look, very semi-luxury filled, and it's working. People have a different perception about Mazda.
But
Come on.
hear that, and I accept that as logic. But here's something. Remember my background as the author of Googleopoly on a web.
I know who he is. I know who he is, Sean.
Yeah. So here's the question, and this is a question I get in this group a lot, in the Millionaire Car Salesman group. So I'm not just pulling this out of the sky. And you've seen the threads in this before.
Yeah.
One of the biggest frustrations for any manufacturer, for the record, I'm not just talking about Ford, I'm talking about any manufacturer, is that when a manufacturer mandates or only allocates X amount of website providers. Follow me on this. This is my logic as a web developer, right?
Okay.
I don't believe that you could do both. I don't believe that a website company can create a model that could scale to 3,000, 6,000, 9,000 websites and provide the proper amount of custom technology. What I mean by that is, real SEO is done with H1s, H2s, backlinks, unique content, and things like that. So if I'm creating a cookie cutter website to create the brand, to create that continuity, to set the bar, that's only surface. But if we look at the back end of most, not all, with most of these big website providers that are OEM compliant or OEM recommended, the challenge is they're not into technology structured the right way. They don't have all the right back-end details that are going to be needed to have, good SEO, differentiating SEO, because you can't serve both. I don't think that you can do McDonald's and have Ruth Chris, steakhouse at the same time. Do you see what I'm saying?
Okay. You know what? We're going to agree there. Okay. I'm going to agree with you, having been on the other side of retail. That is completely accurate. I am also going to say that is why I like FordDirect's approach, and I'm not just saying that because I work.
No, good. That's why I got you on the show, because this is what I like. That's why
it's not just one. It's not just dealer.com, right? It's
right.
You know what I mean. Dealer.com is one of our many website providers. Now I think we've got 4 or 5 of best in class. By the way, also to protect the dealer, right?
Yes.
Our CEO, Mike Gingell, great guy. If you've never met him, shake his hand at NADA.
Will do.
He's always talking to me. Also, hey, let's think about how to protect the dealer, because how many times, Sean, have you had a dealer get in bed with a vendor and then get ripped off or not get what they paid for?
Yes.
Right. And you go into the back of the system, you're like, hey, man, I ain't working for you like you think it is. You know, the vendor's bringing these nice reports and saying, you know, you got this business and da-da-da-da. And then you go in there and you're like, no, that's not what happened. So companies like FordDirect, right? We do help say, hey, we don't want you to sign up for the Josh McDaniels coaching staff, right? I don't want you to be regretful of what you bought later. All right. This is everything about this company and this vendor, right? And that's why I also have a position. We're always reevaluating, reassessing, and saying, hey, what else is out there? Hey, and pushing our current vendors to say, hey, this is available. Like you've mentioned some things to me that have been great, and we've taken back to the website team. Hey, this is out there. We need to make sure we're doing this, or our vendors or our current sets doing this. And in some cases, that's no, and there's a reason why they haven't got there, and we're pushing them to do it. So good point, baby.
Hey, attention dealers, this is a public service announcement. Have you really looked at your website spend? Look at every dollar that you spend for your website, your search engine optimization, your search engine marketing creation fee or management fee, your Facebook, your social media ads, your social media management fee, and all the APIs that you drive traffic to your website. That could be your credit app, that could be your trade appraisal tool, your digital retailing tool, your chat tool, your AI tool, whatever it is. Think about that. I know dealers that are spending $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month for their website and all the traffic to their website, but they're only generating like 50, 60, 80, 100 leads. If you do the math, the average cost per lead, $180, $250, $300 per lead, not per sale. And that's because they have a sufficient website. If you have a bad website, a crappy website that has low time on site, high bounce rates, low leads, low clicks, etc., you need to upgrade your website. For a free strategy session, check out Dealer eProcess. Dealer eProcess is by far the country's top web development provider. They've got thousands of rooftops. They're not owned by a big conglomerate Illuminati company. And here's the cool part. They were invented by a dealer principal. Joe Gillespie, the founder and the owner of the company, is a former dealer principal. So look into him.
No, listen, Trent, again, that's why I was honestly really excited to have you on the show, because, again, I want to reiterate that to the audience, FordDirect is not just a subsidiary of Ford OEM. It is also owned by the actual dealers. Its whole mission and creation was to help protect, guide the dealerships and help liaison the dealers with the OEM. And I think that needs to be understood, because, again, I have a lot of Ford clients, and I don't think that they are maximizing a company at your guys' level with the freaking resources, the experience, the knowledge, and the network. At the end of the day, when I was during the pandemic, the Last Dance with Michael Jordan, Tim Grover. You know who Tim Grover is?
No, I don't know Tim Grover.
Tim Grover was Michael Jordan's personal, motivational coach. He coached Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry, etc. I actually got to share the stage with Tim Grover at the Lightspeed VT conference with Bradley in Vegas a couple years ago. And, it was just amazing. Try to imagine Michael Jordan, the multi-billionaire and this incredible athlete. You know how many different coaches that he had? Just on the Bulls, okay, basketball coach, then a cardio coach, strength and conditioning nutrition coach. He probably had a weight loss or whatever, health coach. Then he had a business financial coaches. Then he had a motivational coach, like Tim Grover's like a Tony Robbins type guy, He's got all these different things. Look at the UFC. You have, stand-up coach, you got a boxing, you got jiu-jitsu, you got judo, you got wrestling, you got Muay Thai. My point is that we are in the professional world. We're in the NBA, the NFL, or the UFC of automotive sports, metaphorically speaking. Dealers need to understand it shouldn't just be one choice. It's not just Sean Bradley or Grant Cardone or, Jonathan Dawson or, anybody else. I don't think it should be either or. Dealers need to understand all the resources in front of them, including Google and YouTube as major resources, right? And then figure out who can help them solve a problem or achieve a goal. They need to develop a coalition, if you will. And I think a Ford dealer or Ford employee is blessed to have, I think, a company like FordDirect as part of their coalition is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you, sir. And I think you're spot on. Whenever somebody asks me about trainers, I give a list. Yeah, and you mentioned one. Jonathan Dawson, you're always on that list. And what I tell dealers is, hey, when you're talking to Sean, hey, Sean's expertise, if you've got a BDC problem, that's number one. Okay. If you're looking to improve your communication, he comes out of the world. That's what he has done. He's got other expertise areas that he's come up with. If you're looking for maybe some more, financial stuff, maybe, you talk to Frank Lopes or somebody like that, or a, business coach, so there are, the Michael Jordan example you bring up is great, because the other thing about Mike is that's kind of the standard today, but he made that the standard back in 1986. That was not, you didn't have people, doing with all those coaches and the motivation, and I think Tom Brady even took it to another level with the sleep and getting the body ready. And that's kind of how I look at you with a lot of things that you do and all the many things that you're at, right? I know that you're great in one area, but you continually add other things as the business progresses, which is why it is important to have people like you in the stores.
No, I appreciate it. And I got to just tell you, I am proud that I have 25 years automotive experience, that enables me to go into a Ford dealership like Bob Ruth Ford that is in a town that only has 2,500 residents in it. And in less than 2 years, take that store from 75 cars on the internet to 320 units. I mean, I don't know many human beings that could net increase that level in a dealership that's in the sticks surrounded by cows and corn. Do you know what I mean?
Now listen, I'm gonna talk about myself real quick, Sean. Now I'm a bad man, boy. I'm a bad man. Stephen Smith, Aaron. I'm a bad man like Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if I can do that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know if I can do that. That special, unique talents that are developed and honed, and it takes experience, right? You couldn't have done. I'm not gonna say that you couldn't have done. That have been more difficult for you 10 years ago, right? But when you get to the point where you're at, where you've seen different things and can pull things together.
Actually, I'm going to interrupt respectfully and disagree with you, because I want to let you know something. That's not the case. I've been doing this since the 90s, dog. I've been doing this since 96. Yeah. So Pine Belt Automotive, this is facts. 2001, I was selling 110 units out of my internet department at a Nissan Kia Cadillac dealership in Toms River, New Jersey. 2002, I worked at Cherry Hill Nissan. I was doing about 100 units a month out of a single point Nissan store. This is 22 years ago, the top dealerships in the entire United States. So I have this system, and I'm going to share it with you and everybody else on the air right now. If I had to respectfully identify, I call it the genius factor. Like, everybody has something that they're superb at. It has, at least as far as consultants or trainers, I think that somebody has a supreme, preeminent specialty. Mine is being able to go into a dealership and be able to help them max net increase their volume and gross quicker than they've ever done before. And I do it with one variable, and I think that you're going to love hearing this. So it's called the residual flow factor. I think we've talked about this in the past, but let's talk about this, because for people who are listening, how the hell does, Dealer Synergy go into Bob Ruth Ford and take them from 75 to 320? That's impossible. No, it's really not. Here is the reality, okay, is that especially now in 2024, we are now in 2024, the economy is shifting. The incentives are happening for the manufacturers. The competition and the price dropping is happening from the dealers. What dealers don't realize, let's go back to the beginning of the month, January 1st. Here's what I recommend everybody do. Go into your CRM and run one simple report. How many active internet leads are 90 days or less old? Or you could even say how many internet and phone leads, okay, are 90 days less than old. But let's just start with just internet. Now, the average dealership in the United States is roughly doing about 400 to 500 internet leads now between OEMs, third-party providers, their website, digital marketing, whatever. It's about 400 to 500 leads right now. So let's just use 500 to be, just as an example. You could take 100, add 100, whatever. Okay. If you get 500 fresh leads, most dealers, Trent, are doing this incorrectly. What they're doing is they're only focusing on the 500 fresh leads in January, right? They're not focusing on what they're starting the month with. So if your dealership is legitimately getting 500 fresh leads a month, then mathematically speaking, I would say at a bare minimum, if you ran a report on the first day of the month and you average 500 leads, you probably are going to look at 800 to 900 carryover leads. I'm going to repeat that for everybody. If you've got a dealership, a ABC Ford, if you've got a Ford dealership, if you've got a Ford dealership that averages 500 leads a month, do you understand me?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is this. Let's just say they've been in business for at least 3 months for this to work, right? January 1st, if you ran a report at Cannon Ford and I said, hey, how many active internet leads do you have that are 90 days or less old as of January 1st? I am telling you, at a minimum, you're going to have 800 to 900 leads on January 1st, because in 3 months, you would have grossed 1,500 leads. If you take out dead, bogus, and sold leads, you're going to have about freaking 800 to 900 leads in 90 days. So now follow me on this. Forget about in January 1st. Forget about any fresh leads that you're going to get in January. Forget about that. The question you got to ask yourself is, how many of those, let's just say 800 leads, should I be selling if I don't get one freaking fresh lead? My math formula at Dealer Synergy is 5%. 5% is 40 net cars. Yeah. Okay. So think about that for a second. If I'm a 500 lead per month internet department, before I get one fresh lead, I should have 40 freaking sales that are in the kitty. Because here's the reality. Because if you take the 800 carryover leads on the 1st of January and you add the 500 fresh leads that month, how many working opportunities just in the internet does that department have? It's 1,300. You have 1,300. And here's what the problem is. There's a lot of dealers that are puffing their chest and saying, okay, if I get 500 leads a month and I sell 50 cars, that's a 10% closing ratio. No, it's not. No, the heck it's not. Because those 50 units did not all begin and end in the month of January. Out of those 50 cars, you have leads that are from December, from November, October, hell, maybe even September. There's one or two that squiggle through. Yeah. So if you think about this, if I'm only selling 50 cars out of 1,300 leads every single month, that means every single month I'm leaving 1,200 opportunities on the table. And why is this happening? Because most dealers don't even have the proper infrastructure to handle the low-hanging fruit, the 500 leads. Damn, no way in hell do they have enough bandwidth to handle 1,300 opportunities. You know the math? JD Power, and I'm going to let you respond. JD Power says that on average, it takes 9 to 11 attempts before you have the first response. So how is a store going to handle 1,300 opportunities with the reality that there is not an instant gratification? See, an internet initiative, a real BDC, is not a sales initiative. I'm going to repeat that, folks. A internet department or BDC is not predominantly a sales initiative. It is predominantly a follow-up department. The majorities of activities that are happening that month are follow-up. It's outbound email, text, social media DMs, videos, etc. And the more outbound opportunities you have, whether it's through AI or manual efforts, the more connections, more appointments, more shows, more sales. So when I go into a store, my first genius factor is I need to know what the residual flow factor is. What's that carryover leads? And what is their true potential? Once I identify that, I reverse engineer a model and an infrastructure that can engage all those opportunities so I can max close those. Does that make sense?
Oh, wonderful. Beautiful. You're speaking science. You're speaking science.
So
and we've got two people I should mention at FordDirect. Mark Chrisman, one great guy, on that talks about just what you're talking about. He's lead management along with Tony Navarra, and talks about this, how many opportunities are not left in it. So that's what, your system on putting that together. This is something that everybody needs to be listening to.
Did you know that CRM is one of the absolute most critical resources in a dealership? If you think about it, the CRM truly is going to either maximize or minimize each and every single employee team member at the dealership. If the CRM action plans aren't professional, they aren't up to date of this century, they're not going to give your people the right tasks and activities to do throughout the day. It's not going to allow you to follow up with the different types of prospects and leads with the proper gestation periods, etc. If you've got antiquated verbiage, antiquated templates, if they are incorrect or not mapped out correctly, it's going to severely compromise your success. As a matter of fact, over 92% of all CRMs are broken, not set up correctly, not utilized correctly. Let me tell you this right now. Vin Solutions is one of the absolute best CRM companies in the automotive industry. If you need any help with CRM or anything related to CRM, you need to check out Vin Solutions. As a matter of fact, Vin Solutions is going to be at the upcoming IS20G 15 three-day automotive sales conference, April 15th to the 17th in Baltimore. So check out Vin Solutions in Baltimore.
Trent, but here's the thing though. You know what I love about math? It's not magic, it's math. It maths out. You do it, you could reverse engineer it forwards, backwards, inside out. If it maths out, it maths out. Meaning that for me, that's a conservative average number I just gave you. Let's take one of your higher performing Ford dealerships. Holy smokes. Can you imagine if you get now a dealership that gets 2,000 leads a month, or if you've got a Ford Lincoln, dealership, right? So between Ford Lincoln, like I'm gonna tell you right now, I have in Miami, we've got Kendall Ford, and they have two also Lincoln dealerships in Miami, right? It's owned by the same, family. They're amazing people, but Kendall Ford in Miami, I think that they get like about 1,000 or 1,200 leads right there. The Lincoln store gets about 800. So can you imagine if you've got 2,000 leads in a month, and even if you hit 10% at 200 units, holy crap, you're selling 200 units, but that means you didn't sell 1,800 people just that month. So what does the residual flow factor look like in 90 days? Okay, so on January 1st, that store that gets 2,000 leads, how many are they starting with? You know what my number is? You're at like 4,000 to 5,000 carryover leads on the first day of the month. And then if you get an additional fresh 2,000, you're operating as 6,000 to 7,000 opportunities.
Can we touch on that with the single point of contact model?
Please, yes, absolutely. Sure, explain that to us.
Yeah. So you're talking about Lincoln stores, and there are some. This is not for everybody, but I want your opinion on this. What is your opinion on salespeople completing the deals themselves, where applicable? Some Lincoln stores they just don't get us a ton of leads, right? There might be 5 to 6 guys, but often they're very, very seasoned people often all the products are sold before they even get into the box, what have you. And I have been advocating that a lot of these stores and even some smaller domestic, Ford stores need to consider the single point of contact model. I want to know, my expert man, what say you?
Again, good question.
Yeah.
I could see the benefit and value, but here's the reality. If the dealership does not provide the proper expectations, the proper training, and the proper accountability, nothing's going to work. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Meaning it doesn't matter what the process or what the strategy is. I think that there are so many different processes or strategies. Like, I'm going to throw the question with you, and I hate to answer a question with a question, but I have to, because that was a really good question you had, is, don't you think that we have so many strategies, and that might be a great one? I think we have a bigger implementation problem than we do a strategy problem.
Correct.
That we have CRMs, we've got AI, we have the technologies. It's not like we lack a solution. I don't think that we lack a resource. I think that we are plagued with not implementing things the right way, and or not give it enough time to actually work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether it's the OEM or it's the dealers, if they don't have instant gratification, boom, and if it's not working perfectly, they're gonna pull it or change it. You know what I mean? So conceptually, I love it. You know what I mean? But my only 2 cents is, it has to be implemented, trained, and supported the right way for it to have value and long-term staying power.
Correct. And I think that some of the dealers that have tried it and gone away from it, I think pulled the plug too quickly.
That's my point. That's my point, is that, again, we are plagued in this industry for us smart, rich people. You know what I mean? There's a lot of wealth I'm talking about ownership and executive management in this industry. And there's a lot of highly intelligent people, but it baffles me how we change strategies more than Katy Perry changes her clothes. Shout out. Yeah. I mean, like, right or wrong. I do have a question for you. I need to redirect. And this is big. I need to ask you a question. And this came up recently in our group, okay? And this is not, for the record, this is not for Ford. I'm just asking you, in your capacity and your experience, what I'm about to share with you, okay? So I just did an audit recently for a dealer. Here's a scenario. The dealer spending $14,000 on his website and the things that support his website, such as search engine optimization, pay per click, as well as some APIs like a credit app, digital retailing, chat, and I think maybe even social media or whatever. He's spending $14,000. I will say this. The particular dealership I'm talking about, and this is legit, guys and ladies, is also telling them that they have to be compliant, right? So it's a compliancy thing too. So I asked them one simple question, and I want my audience to do this. I want everybody, and Trent, I want you to do this too. And just for giggles, man, I think it's going to shock you. Do that. Check what you're spending on the website. Problem number one is people like to bundle package stuff, which is not a good thing. You need to understand, what is your core website? What is your basic SEO? What is your management fee? What is your PPC budget, etc.? That should be all line item. Here's why. You want to add every dollar you're spending. In the example I just gave you, this dealer is spending $14,000 a month, a little bit more, Trent, right? Mm-hmm. I asked him one simple question. How many leads are you generating from your dealer website for that budget?
Yep.
Last month, December 2023. Mm-hmm. For this, 30 wow. Total leads from an OEM mandated compliant website, 30 leads.
Okay. If
anybody wants to do the quick math, that's $466 and some change per lead, not per sale, per lead. And I asked him, why are you spending that and hemorrhaging? He said, because my manufacturer is telling me I have to use this website provider, this vendor, this, and this. And I'm like, okay, I could appreciate and respect that, but you're the business owner. You are the dealer principal. And he's like, I don't know what else to do. My first question to you, does that math make sense to you? Spending $14,000 in a website and all the crap that goes to the website and, all the things I just mentioned to only generate 30 legitimate leads?
No. However, lead volume is down at least 20% nationwide since the pandemic. And down even more in some cases. So it does not surprise me that the lead volume is down. I would also ask how many phone calls that website generated, right?
9.
And for me, the more important metric.
9 phone calls.
Oh, all right. Now I'm asking some questions. Are we in a major metro? We couldn't be in a major metro.
No, not in a major metro, but in a bigger area than Bob Ruth Ford, for sure.
Okay. Look, those numbers. There's obviously some we need to dig deeper.
Right.
There's something's not connected.
You know what I say though, and here's what I guess because we have like 5 minutes left, and I really want your opinion on this. Okay, here's what I say to dealers, and this is how I explain it. I say, first of all, look, I'm very passionate about what I believe in my experience, because a quarter of a century is a long time, and I'm only 47 years old, so I spent a huge chunk of my life just mastering my craft.
You look like you're 25, boy.
And I'm Belizean. I'm tropical, man. That's what's up. No, but so here's what I say to dealers. I say, are you familiar with Maslow? Maslow has the hierarchy of needs. And just for our audience that needs a refresher. So what Maslow is famous for is human beings have a hierarchy of needs. On the very tippity top of that hierarchy is oxygen. They need oxygen to survive. They need food, water, shelter. But the last line, which is part of it, is called self-actualization and feeling loved. And so there's a hierarchy of needs, because technically human beings need oxygen, food, but then they also need love and being part of something, etc. But here's the reality: is if somebody's starving or they're drowning, literally drowning, they're not really worried about self-actualization and love and having their hut match their skirt or whatever to be accepted. They need air or they need oxygen. I would say that there's a hierarchy of needs that a dealership needs, okay? I believe in VDPs and SRPs, but I personally don't think that they're anywhere near as valuable as hard leads, names, phone numbers, and email addresses, because I can't call a VDP or an SRP. And I have stores that are saying to me, like, look, I have these reps that are coming in and I'm paying $14,000 a month. And I'm like, what's going on? I need leads. And they're like, well, we got VDPs and we get SRPs and we got this and we got this and ABCs and XYZs. And I'm like, man, look.
Gone are the days that you say you provide us with VDPs and SRPs, man. We need real life customer connections, because everything else, it ain't BS, just extra.
Putting first things first, you can't sell cars with just clicks or VDPs, SRPs.
Right.
You need to be able to create an environment where you've got tangible, tactical people that you could follow up with and engage and converse with. Am I crazy? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Or
I 1,000% agree. I gotta go back to my man Clay Cooley. I got in trouble for telling the story, but I'm gonna tell it in a different way. It was a long time ago, and I do believe in SEO and SEM, and but like anything, let's keep it honest. Let's make sure that we're spending. So we same thing. This was like 2016, 2017. Clay Cooley is the dealer principal in Dallas. We get 15 stores. I was director of marketing, and he was not a big believer in digital. And we had started with this company, and the numbers, website numbers, boom, poof. I mean, off the charts. And I came in and I was like, hey, we sat down at that end of the month, that beginning of the month meeting. Y'all know when you like, oh yeah, look, I'm a score today. And I showed him the numbers, and I was like, hey, Clay, look at all these, look at all these numbers. I showed him the paper. He's like, yeah, but Trent, we sold 3 less cars than we did last month. Now, caveat to that story is over the next 6 months, there was a pretty dramatic increase. It just wasn't as immediate, but that always stuck in my mind. Hey, don't forget internet directors and people in digital. We are ultimately here to move units, like you said, not SRPs and VDPs. Good point, my brother.
Last question for you, and again, we started about a minute late, so I got another minute on you. So is this
Okay.
from FordDirect's perspective and from Trent Cannon's perspective, because you guys are dialed in both on the company level and you as a professional level, where are the opportunities in 2024? It's the brand new month, brand new year. I know that artificial intelligence AI is buzzing all over the place. What do you see? Speak to not only the Ford dealers, but any automotive professionals that are listening to this podcast, any dealership, from your level and from corporate's level. How can automotive professionals and dealers maximize and make the most amount of money? What is your advice to maximize 2024, brother?
And you had to leave me on that, man.
Yes, I'm giving you an opportunity. Yes.
So Tom Thomas is in charge of our AI, and I work closely with him. Very smart guy. He will be at NADA talking AI. A ton of opportunity there. There's things that I can't even talk about. Not allowed to talk about there in AI. It's going to have. I can tell you this. AI will have the most significant impact on our lives, right? And I'm going to be real honest. Not all of it may be positive, right? Just like automation years ago for the working class wasn't necessarily positive when we talked about, the amount of people that were employed. Mm-hmm. And so we've got to be cautious with that. And I actually hope the government tackles some of that so that we don't have this huge shock to the system. AI is probably the biggest opportunity, and it'll dramatic effect on BDC. Some of the things that these AIs can do with scheduling and what people can do, it's dramatic, and it's moving faster than we can keep up with. So that's number one. I think video is going to be absolutely massive. Brent Brozek, and we got a guy on the West Coast. I should mention Gene Lamb, who's a DPC out on the West Coast, and Eric McCant. We have some great DPCs. Tyler Hernandez, who's in the mid, and we've all been talking about video and how video is changing. Not necessarily even in heavy metro populations. I'm not talking about Houston, San Francisco, Columbus, Ohio, New Jersey. I'm talking about video in North Dakota, in Nebraska, in the middle of the country, because it's so expensive, right? The store could be, if you're on a farm, right, store could be 30, 45, an hour away from the store, driving this could be 50 miles away from the store. So having a video conversation with that consumer is very important to help to rapport that consumer. So I think AI and video are going to be huge, especially as you have the Gen Z demographic coming about. The Gen Z, as we know, TikTok and social media, that's the last thing I'll say. So social media being more dominant than search, and it already is in some respects. More people are searching on Instagram, Meta, TikTok than they are on Google. We're seeing the transformation from websites to social. It is happening right now. It's not going to happen. It is happening as we speak. And, Gen Z is 27 years old, right? I'm a millennial and I'm 42, right? Like we are now the predominant buyer. So people, say, oh, Gen Z, millennials, da, da, da. No, we're the predominant buyer. I got friends that are making a substantial amount of money. We are going to be the predominant buyers for the next 10 years. And the business is going to transact the way that we are accustomed to transacting. So those three things I'll say. Last thing, can I end with this? Can I say this?
Yes.
Dean Stonley's our CEO. He will be at NADA. We've got a wonderful woman named Beth Hill, who's our general counsel. These are people that if you haven't met, you don't know these names, you want to work with FordDirect, you want to be more visibility there. These are people that you need to try to shake hands with at NADA. my director, her name, the vice president of integration and innovation, Rebecca Caldwell, very influential person. She will be there. So throwing some things out there for my vendor folks who want to make some headway, or dealers who want to just get to know the organization better. Come by the Ford booth, come shake a hand in Las Vegas, because I'll be there with my man Sean Bradley. We'll have a drink or two later after the show too, my man.
Yes, sir. No, absolutely. I'm excited. I want to say to everybody, I'm going to be speaking at NADA, as well as Tiana's going to be speaking. I'm going to be speaking on TikTok. So me and my daughter, Tiana, are going to be doing a workshop. And Tiana's going to be doing another workshop with Chrissy Burton, the number one car salesman in the country. And actually a featured NADA session, on the women in automotive track. And when Dealer Synergy will be exhibiting, we have a big booth that we're going to be there. But I have a hard stop right now. Trent, thank you. And thank FordDirect for being able to bless this mic and this audience with all that information. Take care, everybody, and go Eagles. Go Eagles. Go Eagles. Go Eagles.
My man, take care, Doc.
So there you have it, the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. This podcast comes to you every week from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you have a question about the show or would like the chance to become a guest, feel free to contact us directly at 856-546-2440 or email us at millionairecarsalesman@gmail.com. This program is a presentation of Synergy Records, produced by Tiana Mick and L.A. Williams. Production and engineering by L.A. Williams. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast is hosted every week by L.A. Williams and the Millionaire Car Salesman himself, Sean V. Bradley. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast can be found everywhere, so please don't forget to review, subscribe to, and share the show. Thanks for listening.